and the punishments reflect the relatively petty nature of the crime as well. Supposing we do for a private like the one that we have on trial today, the 1 month's worth of punishment, which will take a few forms. We can sentence them to be kept in the jail cell inside the guardhouse for up to 1 month. We can sentence them to hard labor under the charge of the guard for up to a month. Or most commonly, we can simply fine the soldier any or all of their monthly pay, which for a private would start at $13 a month. Now, because these garrison courts were very common occurrences, frequently happening more than once a week, they had to find ways to streamline the process so that not all of our officers here at Fort Mackinac were tied up in all these legal proceedings. Every court-martial required at least 4 officers. There were many times when we only had 6 officers available here, and the commandant of the fort cannot sit on the court. He's actually the appeals process. There had to be another officer actually running the fort as well. So they had to find ways to streamline the process. And I'll introduce the members of the court. Now, presiding, we have Captain William Manning. Now, as the most senior officer on the court, he is acting as the president, somewhat like a judge in a civilian court, but he also makes up part of the jury as well. He gets exactly 1 vote in the fate of the accused. Assisting is myself, Lieutenant Edward Pratt, as well as Lieutenant Benjamin Morse. The 2 of us simply assisting the captain. We also make up the rest of the jury. We also both get 1 vote each in the fate of the accused. This way, there's been a 3-member jury. There can never be a split vote. So although the captain does outrank us, if we vote one way and he votes another one, we will still outvote him. Now, the most interesting role is that of judge advocate. Today, that is Dr. Harlan McVeigh. Now, part of Dr. McVeigh's role is to act as the prosecuting attorney on the interest of the United States. So in the days leading up to this court-martial, he's been out gathering evidence, witnesses, trying to bring the strongest case to bear against our private. But don't worry about the private sitting all forlorn by himself over here. He is not without his own defense representation. That is also Dr. Harlan McVeigh. I hear some titters of laughter up there. To a modern perspective, this might seem like a conflict of interest, but on his honor as a gentleman and an officer, he is expected to remain completely impartial, simply present the truth to the court as he finds it, give them all the information they need to make the most informed decision. So he's not trying to take one side over another, although he has been known to brag that he's never lost a case here at Fort Mackinac, so take it that what you will. We will step back and show you the court-martial, that of Private Daniel O'Leary, as it may have played out back in April of 1890. We hope you enjoy.
Call this court to order. Judge Advocate, will you please administer the oath?
Certainly, sir. If you gentlemen will please rise and raise your right hand. You, Captain William Manning, Lieutenant Edward Pratt, and Lieutenant Benjamin Morse, do swear that you will well and truly try and determine, according to the evidence, the matter now before you, between the United States of America and the prisoner to be tried, and that you will duly administer justice without partiality, favor, or affection, according to the provisions of the rules and articles for the government of the armies of the United States, so help you God.
I do.
Doctor, would you please raise your right hand? You, Dr. Harlan McVeigh, do swear that you will not disclose or discover the vote or opinion of any particular member of the court-martial unless required to give evidence thereof as a witness in a court of justice in due course of law, nor divulge the sentence of the court to any but the proper authority until it shall be duly disclosed by the same, so help you God.
I do, sir.
The charges will now be read aloud. O'Leary, please stand at attention.
The accused, Private Daniel O'Leary, Company E, 23rd Regiment of Infantry, is charged with conduct prejudicial to good order and military discipline, a violation of the 62nd Article of War. Specification in that he, Private O'Leary, did, without just cause or provocation, violently assault and repeatedly strike in the face with his clenched fist William Williams, a discharged soldier. This in the barracks building of Company E, 23rd Regiment of Infantry at Fort Mackinac, Michigan, on the 10th day of April, 1890. Now, Private, you understand these charges as they have been read to you?
I do.
And how do you plead to the charge and specification?
Not guilty.
Very well, you may be seated. Now it is at this time that the prosecution would like to call forth its first and only witness, that of ex-Sergeant William Williams. Mr. Williams, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, sir.
Please proceed.
Well, you see, Joe, officers of the court, on the day in question, it is true I had just been discharged from the military after 5 years of service. I was gathering up my things in the squad room and, putting away some things, and I decided to sit down on my trunk, and I took out my family's antique pipe. It's a very old pipe made of meerschaum clay from Turkey, very old, and I decided to enjoy my last goodbyes, revel in the good times I've had here at the post. So I began smoking my pipe, and then in comes Private O'Leary. Private O'Leary and I, of course, we've had a rather rocky history. We're rivals nonetheless. We had a really rather healthy competition. We were competitive on the rifle team, and being the one of the top 10 best shots in the United States Army at the, of course, came out on top of that. We were rather competitive at baseball as well, and being such a good first baseman, I was of course better at Private O'Leary at that. We were also rivals as well, sir, on the battlefield of love, sirs. We had been courting the same girl downtown, sir.
Mr. Williams?
Oh, I'm sorry about that, sir. I just like to sometimes talk about how good I am over Private O'Leary. I apologize. I got caught up in the moment. Anyways, so Private O'Leary comes stumbling up to me, and he says, extends his hand out, and he says, thanks for being a good old pal, and all that stuff. And then he went through, and I reached in my pocket to hand him something, and he must have thought I was reaching for something lethal or something, so he smacked the pipe out of my hands, and it went clattering on the floor, and I said, Private O'Leary, why did you do that? Are you going to replace that? It was an antique. It ended up breaking in half, the stem broke in half, and then he went through and he proceeded to punch me in the face.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Now, at this time, if the court has any questions...
He just up and punched you in the face.
Yep, no cause or provocation, sir.
And just the one time he punched you, the charge states that he punched you repeatedly.
I blacked out.
At this time, Private O'Leary, you also have the right to question Mr. Williams here.
I would. Thank you, Doctor. So, yes or no, you're saying that I just walked up to you and said, thanks for being a good old pal, drew back the same fist, and socked you right in the face.
Yes.
No just cause or provocation. You had said nothing beforehand.
Not that I can remember.
Very well. I have no further questions.
Very well. With that, the prosecution would like to rest. Mr. Williams, you may be seated. Now at this time, Private O'Leary here has prepared a statement in his defense, if he so pleases the court.
Very well. Please swear him in.
Certainly. Private O'Leary, please raise your right hand. You, Private Daniel O'Leary, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do, sir.
Please proceed with your defense.
Very well, sir. So it is no secret here in the fort that Sergeant Williams and I have a rivalry, sir. He's definitely got me beat out on the rifle range. I don't know whether there's an hogwash about him being better at baseball than he is, sir. He got cut from the team. He was so bad, sir. He couldn't hit the broadside of a wrecked barn from the inside with the bat. And so, I decided to bury the hatchet when he was leaving, sir. So I went up to him and I said, despite everything, you've been a really good friend to me, so I wish you nothing but the best. And as opposed to saying, thank you, or I'm glad we could bury the hatchet, or anything to that respect, sirs, he proceeded to insult me, sirs. More specifically, insult my heritage in a manner that will not be brought up in this courtroom, sirs. I asked him to take back his remark. He refused, at which point I said that he had better be ready to defend himself if he refused to take it back. At which point he must have realized, or rather forgot, that he was holding a antique in his hand, and he himself threw it on the ground, sirs. I asked him why the harsh words, and he said that he had harsh words for everyone in the company. He seemed to think that we had all done him a great personal wrong. at which point he got himself ready for a fight, sirs. And while I do not relish the fact that I had to strike my former sergeant, it would have been a case of self-defense very shortly thereafterwards. So being preemptive, sirs, I struck him once, and he toppled over. At which point he got back up. I offered a hand up to him. He then punched at me, sirs. And so I punched down once again. He blacked out, sirs, and I got the guard trying to explain what was happening. And then they arrested me as opposed to escorting the ex-sergeant out of the fort.
So, now, just so I'm clear on this, Private, you did, your defense is that you had some sort of provocation for this assault?
I did, sirs. It was a very serious insult, and as a gentleman, I demanded he take it back. He refused.
Very well, very well. I have no further questions, officers. Very well.
Very well. With that, the defense will rest, and I have nothing further to present.
There being nothing further, this court will recess to consider a verdict.
And with that, the courtroom would be cleared of everyone but the 3 members of the jury, and they would deliberate on everything they'd heard, perhaps any evidence that was presented to the court, and they would come back with a verdict, and also at this point, if found guilty, the sentencing as well. Well, you've heard both sides of the story. We'd like to get your opinion here. Who would side with the ex-sergeant over here that he was clearly just attacked with no provocation would find the private guilty by a show of hands? I see about 3 or 4 hands, okay. Well then, who would side with the private side of the story that he was very dearly insulted, was clearly provoked, would find him not guilty by a show of hands? O'Leary, you did not tell me you had family in the audience today. You'll have to introduce me later, I suppose. Well, either way, we cannot actually change history. We'll step back and reveal that historic verdict, and I hope not too many of you are disappointed.
Call this court to order. All rise.